Hello.
What's up, Josh?
What's up, Jake?
How we doing?
Good. Yeah, back to normal life. I was watching CJI on my drive back. Had Ginger drive for like the first 4 hours. Coming back from Burning Man, it was like I gotta watch this. I'm sorry.
Got your
So,
Flow subscription and everything?
dude, I had to. It was like I was. I think I finished day one or like most of day one, the matches I wanted to see, and then in the middle of watching day two, it like got cut off YouTube.
Disappeared.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, what? And then I was so frustrated. I got a Flow subscription and then watched the rest, and I actually just canceled it yesterday. So,
Yeah, dude, honestly, I was pretty bitter about it because it was like that like I was that was like the only thing I was like upset about was like it was gonna be free on YouTube the whole time, and then right at the end, it's gonna be behind the paywall, which means I couldn't enter any of the data into the database. So I was like, dang, this is a really big buzzkill and like a dagger to the heart of the database. But yeah, I'm glad they ended up putting it back free on YouTube, obviously. So yeah, happy the way it all kind of unfolded.
yeah, that must have been such a roller coaster for you. When they first put it on YouTube, did you start entering matches already? And then, okay, good, good.
No, because they
Yeah.
announced it that it was going to be behind the paywall. So I just honestly, it was one of the first times that I've ever like. Usually, I don't watch these things live because I have to watch it again. And if you don't have the timestamps when it's live, so you can't like enter the data as you're watching it. So normally I just wait for them to post the live video like afterwards, and then I enter the data. So I never really watch these things live, but like in the Discord we had like a little like watch party kind of thing,
Oh, cool.
which was cool. Yeah, because I was just kind of watching as like a spectator, not like trying to dive super deep into it the first
Yeah,
go around. But
just
um,
enjoying the show.
yeah, exactly, which was
Yeah.
fun.
I remember on the way back home, like I think the first thing I saw when I first went on Instagram was like Craig Jones versus Chael Sonnen. I was like, what's happening? Because I had no cell signal, for the whole CJI till like that Monday. Was it Monday? Yeah, Monday morning after it was all over. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah,
But
it's funny, like, the lead up to these, like, big events seems like the last week, just, like, so many pieces just shift, you know? Like, people pull out, then, like, we had, like, the streaming get changed, and then behind like, it was just, like, so many different changes in the last week.
dude,
Yeah,
sounds so stressful.
yeah.
My
I can't imagine,
gosh.
like, actually running one of these events. It sounds just so stressful.
Yeah, it sounds insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, well,
What were your takeaways? What are some matches you watched? What are some takeaways you had from it?
dang, I was just gonna ask you. I think
That's why I interrupted you to ask you.
I really like the DeAndre versus Mika Galvao match. I just I'm trying to remember anything from it, but it just seemed pretty competitive, which was
Mhm.
cool. And I just like Greg Souders. I'm like rooting for their team. That was cool to see. We were talking about before we started recording. Nicky Rod versus Kenta was insane. It was, man, Kenta is just like a beast. That was so cool.
He's so cool. Yeah.
He's so cool.
We're
Dorian's passing against those bigger guys. Granted, maybe they were like just playing to not lose or something. I don't know. They seem, but it was still super sick to watch. Um, any other standouts? Yeah, the whole New Wave versus V Team, just from an entertainment perspective and like hype and build up was pretty cool. Um, and then oh, John Carlo versus Gavin. Man, he just bullied him right off the bat. That was pretty interesting. Oh yeah, so the controversial taps and stuff like that was interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot that happened. What were your thoughts like the first time, just purely entertainment view, and then maybe we could talk a little bit more about like your analyst view on it.
Yeah. I like the first round, I guess you could say, of like, New Wave versus the Americas team was awesome. And then it kind of like slowed down a bit from there. Um, and like kind of like the initial thoughts were like, man, this rule set doesn't necessarily lead to a lot of like action in the sense that like as soon as people got their guard passed, it was like, I'm not giving up my back. I'm just gonna stay and like let someone stay in north south and try and submit me and not turtle kind of thing. The only match where that comes to my mind where people were like turtling when after they got their guard pass was Ryan Aiken versus Declan Moody, and that match was very cool to watch on day one. Um, but yeah, that was kind of like the initial thoughts after like day one. And then Craig threw a bunch of money at the submission problem to try and solve it. And yeah, it led to, I think, I don't know if it did or not actually. Um, but yeah, I honestly thought the overall event was like pretty good, like the initial watch. And then after like the analyst watch through and entering it all into the database, I really enjoyed it. And I think there are a lot of good um, takeaways from it. I'm a bit like scattered right now because I just finished entering all the matches yesterday. So it's not like super organized in my head, but I made like a folder and everything. I was saving it all to the folder and I have like 90 clips saved in the folder. So yeah, just from like that number perspective, I'm like, man, it seems like I have a lot to talk about here. So um yeah.
Damn, that's amazing. So I imagine this week you just spent all day like watching, pausing, hashtagging, just 2, 3, 4, 5. How many days of just straight spreadsheet watching was
Yeah, it was
that?
like 5, 6 days. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, but it took a week for them to post it on YouTube again, you know? So
Right.
that whole week, to be honest, I was kind of like not necessarily bored, but like I was eager for some content to enter because like PGF wasn't here, the trials hadn't happened yet. So it was just kind of like a dead zone. And I was planning to enter a bunch of CJI matches and then I wasn't able to enter them. So I was like, oh gosh. And now they finally posted it. And now PGF happened. Now trials happen. Now it's like too much to enter. And I'm going on a little trip here coming up. So um yeah, like it was just like not much, and then, like, all at once, so, yeah, it's been a lot of data entry, so my mind's a bit scattered, but yeah.
I can only imagine. So going back to the your first viewing, so day one, you thought it was pretty cool. What was your initial impression of day two and how everything like shook out at the end?
I I, like, didn't really care who won, if I'm being honest, but yeah, like, the only thing I was, like, kinda salty about was it being behind the paywall, but I thought the overall event was, like, good. I enjoyed it, and, yeah, I don't know if I have anything, like, super insightful to say about it or anything, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I liked it. I watched the whole thing. So,
Yeah. Any
yeah.
thoughts on the two like controversial taps?
The first one with Giancarlo and Taylor was, like 50-50, you know, like, it seems like afterwards, especially, like, people were kinda like yeah, it was like a 50-50, like, down the middle of, like, people thinking it was actually a tap versus not. Um, and the second one was, like, pretty blatantly, like, a tap. Um, yeah, I mean, even if it wasn't a tap, it was like, "Dude, come on." Like, you can't just, like, sit there and do that. It's, like, 3 times or whatever. Um, so, yeah. And that was, like, a belly down Aoki lock, you know, like, basically, like, dead to rights. And, yeah, like, I think the second one was pretty blatantly a tap, but the first one was 50-50.
Yeah, I remember, I think Mike said something like he maybe his mind didn't tap, but his body definitely did,
Yeah,
like, it just like, he's
that's funny.
yeah, yeah. I wonder if what they can do about that. Maybe you have to, like, verbal tap or something like that, 'cause you can't take it back. I don't know. It's just that was surprising. I definitely did not expect that to come out of the event was, like, such controversy around taps.
Yeah. It's I hope we don't have to go down the road of, like, making people verbal tap or things like this, like, it just seems like a very dangerous place to be at in jujitsu where it's like, you know, you basically just rip submissions until you know, hear a verbal tap. Seems like we don't wanna go there, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, because what's the difference between that and, like, a hand tap, it's like
Well, like, for, like, strangles and stuff, it can be very hard to
that's true.
verbally
Yes.
tap.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
good point. You're like,
yeah.
"Ah, tap." Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And the verbal tap's always an option, you know? Like,
Right.
especially in those belly down ones where it's like, it can be hard, like, your hands are bearing weight, it can be hard. There's a lot of ways to tap, you know,
Mhm.
verbally, with your hands, with your foot. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot. So, yeah, hopefully we don't limit the options to tap, you know, by just saying, like, verbal is the only way to go.
That's true, that's
Um,
true.
yeah, it seems like that would be, like, escalating the violence in our sport, which
Mhm.
Yeah. As a
Yeah.
hobbyist, I don't really want that.
Looking back at other events, have there been other like pretty big, high profile, like controversial taps like that, or is this like a lot for an event?
I it's a good question. Nothing comes to mind. Um, Obviously, like, I already had Brazilian tap as a hashtag in the database, so there were examples of it, obviously, in the past. But, like, this was obviously, like, I think the biggest stage that it's happened on. It's probably the biggest stage ever in jiu-jitsu, period. For it to happen twice
Hmm.
is, yeah, and people were even saying, like, afterwards, I think this is kind of, like, nitpicky, but, um, there was a time where Wagner had, Elijah Dorsey in a Kimura, and people were saying that Elijah, like, tapped a little bit to the Kimura, but, like, Elijah was in top position in mount, and, there were stages of defense that he could have gone to, um, before tapping. Like, he could have just rolled to bottom position if he wanted to alleviate the pressure kinda thing. So it was like he was trying to keep his balance and, like, happened to, like, touch like, go from the ground to the shoulder back to the ground, and it, like, could have seemed like a tap, you know? So I think this was like, no one mentioned it or commented on it, but, like, it was kind of floating around the internet like, "Oh, even he did a little, like, fake tap." And I was like, I think people are just kinda nitpicky at that point, but
Right,
yeah.
right. Would have been interesting if Wagner, as soon as he touched his shoulder, was like, "Oh," like
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah, just sell it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It would have been interesting. But okay, I know your analyst side is a bit scattered and it's been a 5 day intensive data entry process. But any um maybe for those listening who want to go see some matches that are like pretty instructive or maybe like cutting edge or new, like any
Mm.
matches that were highlights in terms of learning or like really innovative stuff?
Kenta's first match against Kyle Bame, however you pronounce his last name. Um, I just really like watching all of them pass the guard. I think it's just beautiful. So like Kenta passing the guard in that match was one of my biggest takeaways. Um, Joseph passing the guard in his first match against Max Hansen. Um, this was very cool to watch, and Joseph was pretty hurt, I think, too. Um, so I think it limited his, like, outside passing options a bit, but he was working on his under the legs passing quite a bit. So, yeah, it was cool to see him work on that, during competition, and I really like Joseph's guard retention against, Giancarlo, who like, Giancarlo is, like, one of, if not the best passers, and Joseph's guard retention was very cool, um, and yeah, Joseph is too nice. He always gives me a lot of credit for, like, I made a video about his match against Isaac Michel, and Isaac passed Joseph's guard, like, so many times in that match. And, I was just talking about self frames, which I don't think was, like, new concept or anything. Um, and, like, just to see Joseph go from, like, that to his guard retention against Giancarlo was pretty cool to see. And it's just like, yeah, like these types of athletes that are like constantly developing their skill and like there's just a new person every time they step on the mat are very fun to watch. Um, so the Joseph matches, the Kenta matches, um, there were a lot of like interesting matches like Taylor against John Carlo. Like the inside camping stuff seems hard to implement. And there were a lot of people shutting it down. Even Paul Ardilla was trying to do it against Diego Pato, and Diego Pato is shutting down the inside camping quite a bit. Um, so yeah, I thought like a big takeaway were just the way that Joseph and Kenta were going about passing the guard, and that the inside camping seemed to be hard to implement against like high level people. Granted, the like Taylor and Diego Pato are very flexible and that type of thing. And they were smaller than the person trying to do the inside camping. But on the surface, you would think inside camping would be better if you're heavier against a smaller opponent. But it seemed like it wasn't the case,
Oh,
like the smaller person was able to get their frames back inside and this type of thing. So yeah, just in my opinion, it maybe not give up on inside camping, but I was really struggling on it before the event, and this kind of made me like all right, let's just put it on the shelf for a little bit and work on some other methods of passing half guard. Um, and yeah, I think I have some pretty good insights, and yeah, kind of piece them together a bit. But yeah, yeah,
That's pretty interesting. Um, I have kind of two questions. One is about inside camping, and I don't know if we've talked about this topic in depth on the podcast. Maybe like by way of half guard or something like that. But what is inside camping?
yeah. It's basically like you're putting all of your weight like on you're inside their legs still, which would be like a half guard situation or like a headquarters situation. Um, and you're trying to put your weight on them in a way where they have to carry it in an unstructured position. So over time, it wears out the bottom player. Is the idea. Um, and yeah, like you can camp inside the legs and like half guard or headquarters, or you can camp outside the legs at like J point north south type thing. And yeah, it just seemed like from watching the event that outside camping is probably more preferred than inside camping. But in reality, you probably use them in combination. You go from inside camping to outside camping. When they defend your outside camping, you go to inside camping. You just kind of like, you know, walk them through the cycle to camp, like in general, as like an
Hmm.
umbrella term. Um, but yeah, it just seemed to me like the people who were just trying to sit in inside camping positions weren't able to utilize that strategy super effectively.
Interesting. And especially where you mentioned like the mismatch, like it seems like the heavier guys should be able to get close and like use their weight to camp. But you said was it the guard players' ability, their flexibility and ability to get like pummel their legs back inside or something, like frame and make space that was helping?
Yeah,
Or
so Gordon talks about how you don't want them to have a butterfly hook in, like you want to camp against a knee shield instead of butterfly half guard. And like Taylor against Giancarlo was constantly trying to put his butterfly hook in, and Giancarlo would like reach back to pull it out. And when he would reach back to pull it out, he would create a bit of space, and then Taylor would capitalize on that space to like free his trap leg to the far hip to enter that like keymaster type
Mhm.
position and retain his guard. And Diego Pato was doing this thing like so if you wanna free your trapped leg, it can be hard if you're flat on the mat, but if you do kind of like a partial inversion onto your shoulder, it can give you a bit more range of motion with your bottom leg to free your trapped leg. So what Diego Pato was doing was he would grab the wrist of the, I could show you. Do you want me to show you?
Oh yeah, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And while you're pulling it up, dude, that ever since you made that video about like Levi's guard and the keymaster or the low leg or whatever,
Yeah.
dude, I've been using that so much. I just use it from a like my neck's been hurt lately, so I've been like just playing guard and focused on retention. Just throwing up that keymaster for some it feels like like a retention hack. It's just this weird ass frame that they
Right.
can't get past.
Yeah.
It's been really fun.
Okay. So I don't know if this is a good example or not. I haven't watched it, but I imagine it is because he did it quite a bit. So he's trying to inside camp against the knee shield of Diego, and Diego takes basically he doesn't want Diego to free his trap leg, right? So Diego takes this straight grip
Mhm.
on the arm here, and then he uses his other hand. He comes over and grabs the shoulder, and I think he pulls on this a bit to help himself do this little inversion, like where he like props up on his shoulder through the use of the leverage he gets from this grip. And then you can see his leg, he's already starting to free it, and then he pops it out, and then he retains his guard. He did this a few times in the match to just kind of shut down the inside camping. So this has been something that I've enjoyed. And I'm going to work on a lot of half guard in the next like week, but then I'm going on the trip. But mostly for like passing, but just as like games and stuff, we're going to be spending a lot of time in half guard. And this is something I've been doing while we've been spending some time in half guard, and it makes a world of difference. I think just like this like anchor point on their shoulder to do this little partial inversion.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Wow, super
Yeah.
cool. Going back to the Joseph Chen versus Giancarlo match and kind of the difference you mentioned between his guard back then and against Isaac Michelle and now, what do you think he did so good against Giancarlo to make his guard unpassable?
So I think in the outside passing stuff, Joseph was using a lot of self frames a lot. Um, and Joseph talked about this in his Patreon, which I thought was quite a very, like, it's a very insightful thing. It's like very simple, but like makes a ton of sense. Where if the person's using outside passing, um, and they're trying to move you more than move their self. So like someone like Dorian who like just runs around a lot, they're moving themselves a lot. So in this case, self-framing doesn't do very much good because the self-frame makes it hard for them to move you. But if they're just moving themselves, it doesn't make much sense. Whereas John Carlo does a lot of like throw your legs to one side, then go back to the other side. So Giancarlo is trying to move Joseph more than move himself. And in this type of situation, self frames make a lot of sense to use. And this, I think, makes a ton of sense. So, yeah, this was one thing. And then when Giancarlo was trying to inside pass, he was trying to do it a lot from headquarters. And I think Joseph had some very good guard retention from headquarters. I'm still trying to piece it together a little bit. Um, but the idea is you want to give a little speech to fill some time while I find this.
No, I'm actually glad you're pulling it up because I like going to headquarters a lot, but I feel like I'm kind of like stalling there a little bit sometimes, just hanging out. And maybe it's from Kynan, but I go to headquarters and then I try to put pressure on that knee shield and like drive forward. But if they pressure back into me, I just kind of sit back a little bit, and that's kind of all I do there. So I'm curious to see what's working and not working in this position for them.
Right. So, from headquarters, generally what this top person wants to do is they want to use like so Joseph's see if he does it. Yeah, okay. Perfect. So, whatever leg is on the inside, the top person wants to use that hand, that same side hand to push the leg down, to smash it, to pull it apart, to split the legs, this type of thing.
Hmm.
So, Joseph doesn't really seem to mind Giancarlo controlling this hand over here because it's this hand of Giancarlo that's going to be doing a lot of the like passing work. So Joseph is constantly fighting that hand and like ties it up with these like interlock type grips. And I think it just like makes it hard for Giancarlo to be effective when passing from um, headquarters. And then let's see if he does it. Yeah, you can just see he's like always monitoring that hand, like, and he does not even really addressing the
The other
grip.
hand.
Yeah, he's just like,
Yeah.
you could have this hand. I'm just worried about this hand. Um, and then he does this thing where he reaches for underhooks. Okay, he didn't do it there. Let's see. See how he reaches for
Yeah,
this
yeah.
underhook?
Hmm.
I'm not entirely sure why, but I'm guessing. Okay, yeah, just a guess. Um, when Giancarlo wants to do a knee cut to this side, like kind of a classic guard pass from headquarters is I take an underhook on this side, I go knee cut.
Hmm.
By Joseph reaching for this underhook, I think it basically acts like a self frame against his knee on this side. So when Giancarlo tries to knee cut, Joseph is supporting his knee to make it hard for Giancarlo to knee cut. So I think Joseph reaches for this underhook when he doesn't have access to the grip of Giancarlo. And then when he does get access to their hand, then he ties it up with something like an interlock grip, and then he high legs over and he retains his guard. So I think constantly monitoring that hand until you can high leg over. Or if you can't get the hand, then reaching for an underhook in case they, try and drop for a knee cut or something like this, acts as like a self frame to make it hard for them to knee cut. Um,
Gotcha.
this is just me, you know, spitballing ideas, but I really like it. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah, super interesting because at first glance you see him reach it. It's like such a shallow underhook. Like you're like, why is he doing that? But
right.
yeah, that was a cool analysis. Man, I think we got a table or like revisit headquarters at a future episode. I think that'd be super fun.
From a
Um,
passing perspective.
from a passing perspective,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
gotcha.
Um, one other thing you mentioned earlier was it seemed like once people would get their guard passed, a lot of times they would just keep their backs super flat on the mat as a way to
Mhm.
minimize submission risk. As the attacker, how do you deal with that?
So I think the basic dilemma you play, right, is if their back is flat, then it's probably best to go to mount. Um, and if they turtle, then it's probably best to chase their back. So the idea would be, if they're keeping their back on the mat, you just go to mount. Um, but let me show you this. It's a pretty cool example of this. So in this match right here, Nicky Rod versus Luke Griffith. Um, Basically, Luke Griffith is keeping his back flat on the mat, and Nicky is trying this anaconda, which is probably never going to work with Luke's back flat on the mat, right? But it acts as that idea of indirect control, meaning like, Luke, if you want to take your back on the mat, you're going to run into this anaconda. So basically, the idea is you use the threat of submission to indirectly keep their back flat on the mat, and then you use that to transition into mount, right?
Whoa.
So yeah, I think this is a good example of like what to do when their back is flat on the mat, and a good way, other than like relying on the rules, to keep their back on the mat would be to threaten some type of like, I don't want to call it a weak submission, but like it is a weak submission if their back is flat on the mat. But if they turn to their knees, then it becomes a real threat.
Yeah,
So yeah, this was, I thought, a good example of that.
that's a great example. Um, yeah, it's interesting that people were I hadn't noticed that at all, that people were like stubbornly staying in bottom side control and just preventing mount and not turtling it to risk submission.
Yeah. Um, the other like guard passing stuff, I think, is like the major like takeaway from this event, just from watching like Declan. Declan's guard passing crazy. I'm excited to watch his trials run. I haven't watched it yet, but they just posted it on Flow YouTube. So that'll be the next thing I enter. Maybe on the plane ride, to be honest. Um, but let me pull
How
this
would you
up. Sorry.
how would you describe his style of passing? I do see he goes north south a lot. Does he mix that a lot with something else? Like what makes his passing so good?
I think he is very good at passing to north south, but I also think he's very good at using inside passing to like hold the person down. Because one of the downsides of the outside passing is they could potentially just like stand up to avoid it. So you can use inside passing to prevent them from heisting, and use that to set up your outside passing. So this, I think, is a really good example of just like a I think it's kind of subtle, and I'm going to reference a lot of other clips, I think. So it might not make sense, and you could tell me like, "Hey, can you pull up, this clip to show me what you're talking about?"
Yeah.
But basically, when we were talking about the inside camping thing, the guard player wants to keep their foot like on the inside or even like pushing off your hip to make it hard for you to inside camp. But the downside to this is what, Levi Jones made super popular, where you can kind of stuff this foot and switch sides with a leg drag and go into outside passing on this side over here.
Hmm. Hmm.
So basically, Declan starts to threaten, like, I'm going to go this way. And then Ethan goes, okay, I'm going to bring my foot to the outside to stop you from going that way. Right. And then Declan goes, cool. Now I'm going to come back. And now your foot's on the outside. And now you're pushing away my upper body. So now I use that row drag to
Oh,
pass. I think it's very subtle, but it's just like,
wow.
just the threat of like being able to go outside to go back. Like, I think Declan's just very good at having a lot of ways around the guard from inside passing positions, like half guard. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
this is something I'm going to work on a lot with my students, because one of my students has a competition um, that they're competing in. So I'm trying to like develop a strategy, and I think this is going to be the strategy. Like force half guard, and then go into outside passing from half guard. Um, and yeah, like this is
Dude, that was a beautiful explanation. Man, that is quite subtle because he's threatening to go outside on the other side, and then just as soon as Ethan responds, uses that response against him to go back inside. That is so cool. You're not like even fully committing to one or the other, but yeah, it reminds me of Greg Sauter's thing of like closeness when it comes to passing. Like ultimately, you do want to close that space and get close. And camping is like what he would call line holding or whatever, like the knees, hips, and all that. And that just seems like such a cool way. Like you get past that initial layer, and then you just this kind of goes into Joseph's Chen seminar a little bit, but man, it's like these guys are like water. Like people keep putting up these like rocks or whatever, like frames, and they just like water just flowing around everything and just finding every crack. And eventually they close that space and they're just in there. It's so fluid.
there's one more thing I want to show you, and then let's talk about the Joseph seminar because I'm very interested to hear how that went.
Yeah.
Um, but like jujitsu 101, when you're passing from half guard, is you would like to get your forearm as a frame inside their hip to start splitting their legs apart.
Mhm.
And the way they deal with this is they drop their knee over they get their knee inside your shoulder, right?
Yep.
So in order to do that, like he can't really frame that effectively with his lower body right now. So he has to come across and frame with his upper body. So the idea is you for like in order to do a row drag or what I'm about to show you right now, which I think works really well in combination with the row drag, you need them to frame with their upper body. And in order to force them to frame with their upper body, you can threaten to split their legs apart or smash them together. But these examples are going to involve splitting the legs apart. Um, so basically, you force them to frame with their upper body so they can reestablish their knee inside your shoulder. And then Kenta takes his arm out. And the row drag in this situation would be using Kenta's left arm to clear. But there's this thing I've heard called a chop, um, where like instead of using the row drag, you use your right arm. So instead of using your left arm, you use your right arm and you kind of cut your elbow to the inside and you chop their frame down to the mat.
Yeah.
So this like little dilemma between like row drag and this chop, you can use either hand to deal with their frame, but you just need them to start framing. So it's like you threaten to split their legs apart or smash them together with the goal of getting them to frame, and then you chop, row drag into outside passing. This, in my opinion, is like the easiest way to go about passing from half guard.
Wow.
Granted, you don't control their head and shoulders, so it's probably going to lead you ending up in like front headlock or turtle. But yeah, I think it very much like so. If you're looking at, come on, load. It doesn't load the best when I'm sharing my screen. If you look at sweeps, most like there's a ton of them that involve the leg lock wrestle up dilemma. So they're like threatening to enter your legs and then wrestling up. And if you look at sweeps from half guard, a ton of them involve the bottom player having an underhook.
Mhm.
So a lot of times when you use like the row drag or like this chop, like Gordon teaches to use the chop to go into the overback grip and start setting up your like chest to chest half guard passing. But I think the issue with this, especially when you're trying to teach to like beginner people, is the inside passing route involves like a lot of connection and you have to like manage your weight a lot when they're trying to push you off. And it seems like when you go for like an overback grip or try and go the inside route after the row drag or this chop, it tends to make you more vulnerable to them taking a scoop rip on your leg to enter your legs or taking an underhook and just like wrestling up on a single leg. So if these are like two very common ways people are sweeping from bottom position. Not that it's wrong to go inside. I think if you can get it to work, it's more secure. You control their head and shoulders. You end up in a better position after you pass. But I think it's going to be much harder for someone in like the white belt division to be able to retain their guard against outside passing into a leg entanglement, as opposed to just like scooping your leg and like, I saw this on YouTube. I'm not really sure where my legs are supposed to go, but I know I'm supposed to grab your leg. Um, so this is why, in my opinion, we've been working a lot on outside passing from inside passing. So inside passing holds him down, outside passing puts a lot of pressure on him. And even if it doesn't work, you just do the Dorian style and you just go reset the system and do it again. And it's going to work the sixth time, you know?
Hmm.
So yeah, this is, in my opinion, is what I'm leaning towards quite a bit.
Dang, that is super interesting. What you said about inside camping holds them down, and then it frees up opportunities to outside camp. And as they defend outside camp, you can just go back inside and reset again and go outside the other side, or yeah, start mixing it up more. Um,
Yeah.
Super cool.
Um, last one. I'm getting like it's like
Getting
talking
fired
about
up.
this is like reminding me of all these examples, and I think this will be good to reference honestly when I'm making my video later on.
Yeah.
Um, this right here is just absolutely beautiful. Um, again, it's Kenta. Kenta is, man, we're kind of joking because Kenta is lactose intolerant and he's trying to, drink a bunch of milk to make his body be able to tolerate lactose. And we were joking like, man, if Kenta could drink milk, the dude would be unstoppable, you know? But so one thing I noticed that Joseph and Kenta do is against butterfly half guard, instead of taking a scoop grip on the knee shield leg, like you would in like, a traditional knee shield, if their foot's on the inside, you can take a scoop grip on their bottom leg. If you take a scoop grip on their bottom leg with their foot on the outside, you run the risk of being put in a triangle. So if you take the scoop grip on their bottom leg from butterfly half guard, they can't free this leg to put you in the triangle.
Mhm.
So what Kenta does is he goes scoop grip on the bottom leg. And now, he can't put him in a triangle. So basically, same idea as forearm inside the hip. Kenta's trying to get his shoulder inside the knee of Nikki to start splitting the legs apart, to force Nikki to post with his upper body. And then basically, Kenta uses a row drag to clear that frame. And now he gets his head low and now his shoulder is well inside the knee. So now Nikki's like, dang, I can't bring my knee back inside. So this is the like extension versus contraction, I think, dilemma, where it's like, if I can't retract my knee to get it to the shoulder, I can maybe extend my knee to like get it, behind his hip or something like this, or at least make it difficult for Kenta to use this scoop grip. So Nikki decides to extend his leg down, which gives Kenta the ability to cover the hip, and now he goes into body lock passing. Just like so beautiful. And I think it all starts from splitting their legs apart to get them to post. And again, if you're here and they post and they drop their knee into this your shoulder, then you take this out and you go into a chop or row drag and you go right into like a knee cut to go into outside passing. So it's basically like if you lose the battle and they're posting and they're able to bring their knee into frame, then you use the chop or the row drag. If they don't win the battle, then you just continue with your guard passing. So yeah, this is something I've been enjoying. I haven't worked on it too much. It's only been like a week or so. But I'm excited to do more and then make a video on it once I kind of iron out the details a bit more.
Yeah, dude, that is sick. Actually, if you go back to screen sharing to that
Yeah.
position, because this kind of leads into a little bit of the Joseph Chen stuff. Um, if Nikki's not framing correctly and allows Kenta to close that space with his shoulders and his head to Nikki's like center mass, yeah,
Mhm.
then does that set up just a perfect like over under passing?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So Joseph Chen basically was talking, yeah, dude, man, his passing is so sick. At the seminar, he basically did a little bit of hand fighting, which we could talk about, but man, everyone was there for the passing. And he started us in that J point position and then showed us some passing from J point and how to deal with frames and how to deal with high leg and how to keep that bottom leg like close off. And then he said the other way to go is to go straight into the over under passing. And then he showed his example from when he passed Max Hansen and other routes from there, either over under or just settling into half guard and then passing from half. It was beautiful, man. It was so sick.
Gotcha. So he broke down his pass against Max Hansen.
Hmm. Yeah, it was cool.
Do you wanna attempt to give your iteration of it right now?
Oh man. It seemed like shoot.
Here you go.
Okay.
Do your thing.
No, I don't know. Here, wait, can you play it real quick?
Yeah.
Is this the actual pass?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it seems like he was trying to go into that over under. Yeah, yeah. Oh, man, and then he scooped both legs together, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, beautiful. So sick. Yeah, he kinda talked us through a lot and then just the way you, like, posture up there to go against the kip, I never even
yeah,
thought about that before, and man, that was cool. I think one thing he does really well and what he was teaching us at the seminar is, like, subtly angling your body, your
mm,
shoulder when you're passing, subtly angling your shoulders, angling your hips to just, like, melt through frames without having to directly address them with your hands
mm,
was what made him seem just like water, like, it's just gonna get through eventually, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Um, again, this is just like so gorgeous. I'm gonna give my
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like breakdown of what I saw. And I imagine this will be in my future video too, just because yeah. But so again, like it's like a butterfly half guard type situation where his foot's on the inside. So this gives Joseph the green light to say I can take a scoop grip on the bottom leg and switch sides to go into this over under passing. But this time you can see Max is able to turn like pretty good onto his side, and he pummels his leg um, inside the scoop grip of Joseph.
Mhm.
So this is the first time Joseph tried it, and Joseph is forced into this like it's not really a scoop grip; it's kind of like just some sort of grip that's like forcing Max's leg into a retracted state, but Joseph's arm is like over the leg of Max.
Yeah.
So then they end up in the same position, but just on the other side. So it's basically like butterfly half guard. So Joseph just reboots the system and goes, cool, butterfly half guard, scoop grip, bottom leg. And now we're just going to do the same thing, but just to the other side. But this time he keeps his weight like very far this way. So Max is like on flat on his back basically, and he's not able to switch hips. And just like we were talking about for the scoop grip, you want to get your shoulder inside the knee. And like, you know, when you're trying to get your forearm inside their hip from half guard, they show you that you can like start in headquarters and then switch sides. And when you switch sides, your forearm gets inside the hip.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
think this is an example of that, where you start and you use movement to switch to the other side and you take the scoop grip. And then when you land on the other side, your shoulder is already inside their hip, and you're ready to use your scoop grip. I think this is just, again, amazing. Use of guard passing. And then yeah, like Max is reaching for his like leg here. So Joseph walks back towards the legs, kicks his leg out. And again, the way just like Joseph wraps up the legs with the one arm to step over is very clean.
Dude,
Um,
so clean.
but yeah, just I've really just been messing with the idea of trying to use scoop grips or forearm frames to split their legs apart and using movement to achieve this effect. And if you're working against butterfly half guard, I really like the idea of taking a scoop grip on the bottom leg and switching sides. So your shoulders already inside their knee, splitting their legs apart with your scoop grip. Yeah,
Yeah. I think if you actually go back a few frames, when
yeah,
he was setting up the over under, if I remember correctly, I think there is this one little detail he mentioned about the difference between over under and the gi versus no gi. Yeah, right
mm,
here.
his
So
hand.
yeah, his hand, because I think he was saying in the gi you can grab the cloth and keep them from extending their leg. But now instead he puts that his hand on the ground and it
Yeah.
acts like a stronger frame almost to prevent that extension for him like crushing your arm, your scoop, making your scoop grip ineffective. It was like so subtle and pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think this is why, like, this is the first time Joseph did it, and Max was able to turn onto his side. So Joseph reaches for the scoop grip, and you can see he's like grabbing the hip of Max,
Yes.
and it allows him to pivot his hips a bit more.
Hmm.
Um, but the second time he does it, he punches it in,
And
puts his
keeps it
hand on the
there.
mat, and like, yeah, and like stretches his legs out a lot. Hmm.
Yeah,
This is very
yeah.
good, as opposed to, like, hugging it in,
Hmm.
to your chest. Yeah, I think this is a pretty big, detail. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so cool. So yeah, man, passing is, do you think you'll do like one video just on all like the passing takeaways from CGI?
I think so. I think it's too much to put into one video. So yeah, I think m most of my takeaways, honestly, were passing related. I have to go through all the things again.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, from like top of mind, I was like, the passing from this event was so awesome. Um, so I think like maybe I'll make one video on passing, one video on like everything else, or I'll just make one passing video and then like shorts on everything else or something. I don't know
Yeah.
how it's all going to play out, but yeah, this will all be when I get back from San Diego.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm excited for you to come out here and to train, and maybe we can explore some of the passing stuff together as well. Um,
yeah.
and also the Joseph seminar was cool because I partnered with Mike and we've been doing all the like the CLA eco stuff. Like we haven't drilled in forever. So for us, like when people were like trying the moves, we just like started going, in each position and like messing with, okay, here, try to high leg as much as possible, or like try to like
Mhm.
frame as much as possible, or can you do this to my leg? And looking back on it reminded me of like Joseph's the whole tinkering thing. Like that's probably what he's doing a lot of. Like here, just be super annoying with your frames on this area. Okay, really try not to let my highlight come in, like closing off the space and exploring different aspects of that J point position. And it was so fun. It just blew my mind. I don't go to a lot of seminars, so I don't know if they're all like this. Probably not, I would guess. But he's also so approachable, and I didn't know. I forgot he's 21. Like it seems like he's been 21 for
No,
like 3 years or something. So that was pretty funny. But
yeah, he is super nice and like very approachable.
mhm,
Yeah, when I visited B team, they have their like pros corner and then they have like everyone else's section. And he came over to the everyone else section and like talked with me for a while. And then we rolled and then sat around and like answered questions. And it was like, just me and him just like chatting. And it was, yeah, super nice of him to do that.
mhm.
So yeah, yeah, I can't say enough good things about Joseph. I hope he becomes the face of jiu-jitsu.
I know. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, that's kind of a big question too, right? With Craig out of the scene, Corin's kind of like doing his thing with the gym. Who's going to be the next? Yeah, big personality, I guess. But he's
Yeah,
just such a good guy, which is awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Joseph and Kenta, dynamic duo.
Yeah. Super
Yeah,
cool.
cool.
Um,
And,
but
and
yeah.
any other big announcements you have?
Yes, got this guy finally.
Nice.
Yeah,
For
three
those
years.
for those listening, what is this guy?
Oh yes, got the blue belt the day after the Joseph seminar, which was pretty cool. And yeah, it's been 3 years, 2 months, 369 classes to get this. And yeah, I got the blue belt under Andras Brunovskis. And I think I'm his first no-gi only promotion at Legion, which is pretty funny. Because yeah, I never do the gi, so technically I only have two stripes on the white belt. It's so funny, it's just sitting there. But
Yeah, we got to get you a blue rash guard or something.
but yeah, no, it felt good. I was yeah, it's funny because like as people in listening and stuff, I have been a white belt for quite some time and there was a little bit of that external pressure of like, oh man, I really don't want to make it to 4 years as a white belt. But I've been training a lot more this year. I counted how many classes I did each year and it does ramp up.
Mm.
So especially since February when Andres started doing his like Nogi Eco small groups, it's been like 3, 4, 5 times a week even. So yeah, it's felt the last 6 months of progression has felt really, really, really fun and a lot more solid. Yeah. They made me give a speech. So many people there. I was like, no.
What'd you
And
say?
I
Do you
was
have a
like,
video of it?
someone took a video. It's probably so bad. I'm probably like looking at my feet the whole time, but they were like, speech, speech, and I'm like, oh, thank you, everyone. And I thought of it. I thought of the stupidest quote ever, and I said the quote. I should have prefaced it by saying this is the stupidest quote ever, but I said a mentor of mine said to me once, like, if you stand in line long enough, eventually you get to the front. And so I said that quote, and then I was like, so yeah, I'll head to the back of the line now. And then everyone started laughing, and that was kind of it. But
Gotcha.
yeah, yeah, it
Cool.
was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I'll
On
put
to the
together
next
a
one.
yeah, on to the next one. I'll put together like a little solo episode probably of like some things I learned along the way or whatever. Maybe it can help other white belts. But
Cool.
yeah,
Very cool. Congrats. That's awesome.
thank you. And yeah, man, thank you for being on the journey. It's like I know I texted you and gonna make you feel uncomfortable now, but man, you've been there since literally day zero, like before I even started and asking about it as I was interested in jujitsu. So Yeah, it's funny too, like, I remember asking, like, funny questions in the early days of, like, "How do you deal with Matt Byrne?" And, like, you know? So, I appreciate your patience and guidance every week, every freaking week. I don't think we missed a week, in over 3 years of this journey, so I appreciate
We
it.
we go from Matt Byrne to talking about the intricacies of the over under. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
fun.
kinda crazy. So, yeah, and you've got a trip out here to San Diego, so if any locals are listening, I guess they can come find you. You're gonna be training here for a few days, I think, right?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number of days, but yeah, I'll be there the first day of the Owen Jones and Dima seminar
Okay,
at PJ's gym, and then I leave on Sunday, so I won't be there for the second day. But
gotcha.
yeah,
Cool, cool. Yeah, we'll try to hit up I know we've got a private lesson with Andy, I forget how to pronounce his last name.
Murasaki.
Murasaki, which I've never met, and that's with Mike, so shout out to Mike for setting that up. And then, well, oh man, I'm hoping we can fit in a one of Andres's like CLA classes. I think it would
Mhm.
be super cool. And then maybe, I guess you'll go down to South Bay over the weekend. But yeah, actually, for you, like, what would be your top like jujitsu things you want to do while you're here?
Yeah, I don't have anything planned other than I wanted to go train at PJ's at least once, if not more.
Yeah,
So, yeah, hopefully get over there a few times. Um, the flow hold guy sent me some rash guards and stuff, and I told him I might be coming out to San Diego, so might hope, like try and connect with him. Um, but other than that, that's basically it, really.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Yeah, we're excited to have you out here.
cool.
Cool. Thanks,
All
Jake.
right, later, Jeff.
See ya.